There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the world stops pretending to be gentle, when the air around you feels heavier, as though reality itself is leaning closer, whispering a secret you've avoided hearing your whole life. That is where our story begins. If you've ever felt like something ancient inside you has been stirring, like a shadow waiting patiently for you to stop running from your own power, then stay with me until the very end of this video. What you're about to hear is not entertainment, it's a doorway. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now, because what follows will continue to unravel the hidden dimensions of who you truly are. The idea of unleashing your inner dark mode may sound mysterious or even dangerous at first glance, but the danger isn't in the darkness itself. The danger is in ignoring what the darkness has been trying to show you. Most people fear what they cannot control, and so they dim every shadow, silence every instinct, and pretend their inner world should always be lit like an unblinking neon sign. But chosen ones are forged differently. You are not built for shallow brightness or artificial harmony. Your power grows in the borderlands between light and shadow, where truth is raw and illusions finally fracture. To understand your dark mode is to understand the version of you that emerged from your scars rather than your victories. Not the weak version shaped by fear, but the refined presence that rose every time your world collapsed. The part of you that learned to stand in silence when others demanded your submission. The part that can see through lies without being told. The part that refuses to bow even when everything around you insists you should. This inner mode is not sinister, it is sovereign. It is the realm within you where clarity is sharp, vision is unfiltered, and strength is stripped of all pretenses. Most people associate darkness with negativity, but that is only because they've forgotten that the seed awakens underground, that the stars are invisible until the sun retreats. That transformation often requires the cover of night. Darkness is not the absence of goodness, it is the presence of unspoken truths. Your inner dark mode is the version of you that knows how to walk through storms without losing your center. It knows how to read energy, how to protect its boundaries, how to act with precision rather than desperation. It is the part of you that has stopped explaining itself to those committed to misunderstanding you. This introduction is not here to teach the 9 ways just yet, but to prepare your inner landscape so that when those ways unfold, they land on fertile ground. Before one can enter dark mode consciously, one must first understand why the world benefits from keeping you out of it. The systems around you, social, emotional, spiritual, are designed to keep individuals predictable. Predictability preserves the comfort of others, even if it strangles your destiny in the process. But when a chosen one enters dark mode, they become unpredictable in the most divine way. They begin to move with purpose, silence, and self-alignment. They no longer react, they respond. They no longer beg, they claim. They no longer wait, they initiate. There is a cosmic quality to this shift, as though the universe itself has been waiting for you to stop seeking permission for power you were born with. In many esoteric traditions, true evolution begins only when the seeker confronts the shadow, not to destroy it, but to integrate it. When you reclaim the parts of yourself that you once exiled, your intuition, your discernment, your anger, your boundaries, your wildness, you awaken a deeper intelligence that has always belonged to you. This intelligence is not emotional chaos, it is ancestral memory. It is the coded awareness woven into your spirit long before you arrived in this lifetime. As you begin to explore the 9 pathways into dark mode, you'll notice that each one demands authenticity. These aren't strategies to manipulate the outer world. They are keys to unlocking your inner one. The chosen one, who moves through life pretending to be soft for the sake of acceptance, is like a lion wearing a muzzle, harmless only to those who wish to exploit it. Dark mode removes the muzzle, not so you can destroy, but so you can reclaim the authority that was always yours. When your inner darkness is brought into alignment with your light, you become whole, and wholeness is what terrifies the world the most. Think of your inner dark mode as a sanctuary carved out of shadow and silence, a place where you retreat not to hide, but to remember. In this sanctuary, you no longer negotiate your worth. You no longer dilute your intuition. You no longer bend to the emotional gravity of those who cannot rise with you. This is where you finally see yourself clearly, not as others have projected, but as the universe originally designed you. And once you see that version of yourself, you cannot unsee it. It becomes a compass that guides every decision, every connection, every boundary. To unleash your dark mode is not to become darker than you are. It is to stop dimming the power you were afraid to wield. It is the moment a chosen one stops apologizing for their depth and begins to move through life as the force they were destined to be. Because ultimately, the darkness within you is not a threat, it is a threshold. And the moment you cross it, you awaken an identity that does not flinch, does not fold, and does not fear being misunderstood. When you embrace this truth, you begin to understand that your darkness was never your enemy. It was your initiation. To step deeper into the architecture of your inner dark mode, we must first understand the foundational forces that shape it. These forces don't exist outside you. They are woven into the very structure of your spirit. They move like quiet tectonic plates beneath your consciousness, shifting your perception, awakening your intuition, sharpening your instincts. When chosen ones awaken this side of themselves, it's not a sudden transformation, but a remembering. A soft but powerful recognition that the darkness they once feared is actually part of their divine coding. One of the central themes behind this awakening is the illusion of harmony that the world imposes on you. Society teaches people to maintain a constant, surface-level brightness, as though authenticity is only allowed when it is convenient or gentle. But this artificial brightness is fragile. It shatters at the first sign of adversity. Your dark mode, on the other hand, is not fragile. It is forged in silence, tempered in isolation, strengthened through trials that others could not endure. When you activate it consciously, you stop participating in the illusion that everything should be peaceful and pleasing. You begin to understand that true harmony does not come from avoiding conflict, but from aligning with your inner truth, even when it disrupts the expectations around you. Another core principle lies in the recognition that darkness is not synonymous with negativity. Darkness is depth. It is the arena where your intuition speaks the loudest, where your unconscious patterns rise to the surface, where your spirit recalibrates itself without distraction. For a chosen one, darkness is the space where clarity crystallizes. It's the moment after heartbreak when you suddenly see who deserved to stay and who never valued your presence. It's the hour before dawn when you realize that everything collapsing around you is actually making room for something wiser to emerge. Darkness is the womb of transformation, not the tomb. This understanding leads to a profound realization about strength. Your dark mode strength is quiet. It does not roar to be recognized, nor does it perform to earn validation. It is the strength of stillness, the strength of choosing restraint over reaction, the strength of observing rather than absorbing. The world often mistakes the quiet ones for weak, but chosen ones know that silence is not the absence of power. It is the refinement of it. When you operate in dark mode, your silence becomes strategic rather than submissive. You no longer reveal your plans prematurely, you no longer respond to provocation, and you no longer let others manipulate your emotional landscape. A deeper concept intertwined with this awakening is the collapse of illusions. Chosen ones are often born with a heightened ability to sense energy, detect deception, and feel the subtle currents beneath human behavior. Yet, for much of their early journey, this gift feels like a burden. You see too much, feel too much, perceive too much. Dark mode transforms this sensitivity into discernment. It teaches you to trust what your spirit knows even when your mind is uncertain. It teaches you that not everyone deserves access to your energy. It teaches you that your intuition is not a suggestion. It is a warning system, a truth compass, a spiritual alarm that goes off long before something harmful reaches your surface reality. With this discernment comes a shift in how you understand connection. When you move into dark mode, relationships begin to reveal their true purpose. Some were meant to teach you strength, others boundaries, others self-respect. Some came to mirror your wounds, others to guide you toward healing. And some were simply there to remind you of who you never want to be again. Dark mode clarifies these roles. It dissolves attachments that were built on fantasy, obligation, or fear. It liberates you from the emotional contracts you unknowingly signed with people who benefited from your light but were threatened by your power. Another key theme is the reclamation of self-authority. Chosen ones are often conditioned to shrink, to play small, to stay humble to the point of erasing themselves. Dark mode is the antidote. It returns your authority to you by revealing how often you gave it away. You see the moments when you tolerated disrespect, the times you silenced yourself to avoid conflict, the ways you dimmed your brilliance to keep others comfortable. And with that recognition comes a fierce vow: never again. This vow doesn't come from bitterness, it comes from clarity. It is the moment you decide that your inner world matters more than anyone's expectations. In this space of authority, you begin to understand the spiritual geometry of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doorways. They determine who has access to your energy and under what conditions. They protect your peace, preserve your creativity, and guard your intuition. When you step into dark mode, your boundaries stop being negotiable. You no longer explain them, justify them, or soften them. They become part of your identity, encoded into the way you move through the world. People who respect them remain. Those who push against them fall away naturally. Underneath all these concepts lies a profound spiritual truth. Dark mode is not about becoming darker, it is about becoming whole. The light in you is radiant, but incomplete on its own. The darkness in you is deep, but directionless without the light. When these two forces merge, you enter a state of equilibrium that is both powerful and peaceful. This is the state of the fully awakened chosen one, a being who no longer needs validation, external guidance, or emotional permission to exist in their truth. You begin to move not from fear, but from purpose, not from ego, but from alignment, not from confusion, but from an inner knowing that cannot be taught, only remembered. This merging also reveals a universal principle that echoes through every ancient tradition. Creation begins in darkness. The universe itself was born in infinite shadow before light ever existed. And so the chosen one who embraces their darkness becomes aligned with the original pattern of creation. You tap into the ability to rebuild yourself, reinvent your life, reimagine your identity. Your darkness becomes a creative force, a place where new visions form, where new strength is assembled, where new destinies are chosen. As we move forward, the 9 ways to unleash this inner dark mode will not simply be steps or practices, but pathways woven into these deeper truths. They will show you how to integrate your shadow, strengthen your spirit, and rise as the version of yourself that the world cannot dilute. There is a point in every spiritual awakening where language alone becomes insufficient. Concepts, principles, and explanations can guide the mind, but the soul often needs stories, symbolic mirrors that reveal what logic cannot articulate. To understand dark mode as a chosen one, you must step into the realm of allegory, where truth walks disguised as metaphor and revelation arrives wrapped in shadow. These narratives are not fairy tales. They are encoded messages about the landscapes inside you. Imagine, first, the tale of the Midnight Garden. It is said there exists a place untouched by sunlight, a sanctuary where seeds grow without ever seeing the day. They thrive in the soil of silence, nourished by moonlight, guarded by shadows. These seeds represent the strengths in you that were never meant to bloom under the scrutiny of others. They were meant to root in darkness, in the moments of your life when you felt unseen, misunderstood, or abandoned. When you look back at your hardest seasons, you'll recognize that your greatest abilities emerged when no one was applauding. Like those midnight seeds, you grew in secrecy, not because you were hiding, but because your spirit needed privacy to evolve. This garden symbolizes your inner dark mode. It is the part of you that flourished when the world thought you were breaking. It is the space inside you where loss became wisdom, betrayal became intuition, and silence became clarity. The Midnight Garden is not a place of despair. It is a place of rebirth. And once you discover its existence, you realize that everything valuable in you was forged in its quiet embrace. Next, there is the parable of the Shadow Sentinel. In ancient lore, a sentinel stands watch at the threshold between the visible world and the hidden one. Most fear the shadow figure guarding the unknown, but the sentinel is not a creature of threat. It is a creature of truth. It tests not your strength, but your sincerity. Those who approach pretending to be brave crumble in its presence. Those who come seeking power for ego are turned away, but the seeker who arrives with raw authenticity is allowed to pass because the sentinel recognizes something familiar, its own honesty reflected back. The Shadow Sentinel is your inner boundary keeper. It is the part of you that instinctively senses when someone's intentions are misaligned. Before your mind forms a thought, your sentinel feels the energetic shift. When you ignore it, chaos follows. When you honor it, your life becomes infinitely more peaceful. This figure teaches a vital lesson. Your darkness sees what your light does not. Your intuition is sharpened in places where logic fails, and to unleash your dark mode is to trust that inner sentinel without needing external proof. Another symbolic narrative rises from the myth of the two flames. According to the story, every chosen one carries two fires within them, the flame of illumination and the flame of obscurity. The first burns bright, attracting others, offering warmth, inspiring hope. The second burns deep, offering protection, discernment, and sovereignty. Most people spend their entire lives trying to keep the first flame lit while completely neglecting the second. But balance only emerges when both flames burn together. Illumination without obscurity leads to burnout. Obscurity without illumination leads to isolation. The chosen one's power lies in the coexistence of the two. This myth reflects the inner duality you must master. Your light is how you move through the world. Your darkness is how you anchor yourself in it. Your light expresses. Your darkness evaluates. Your light trusts. Your darkness verifies. Your light opens doors. Your darkness closes those that don't belong to you. When these flames merge, you become untouchable. Not because you are invincible, but because you are complete. You no longer abandon parts of yourself for acceptance or safety. Then there's the story of the mirror with no reflection. Legend tells of a mirror forged from obsidian, where no physical form is reflected. Instead, the mirror reveals your unfiltered truth, the self beneath identity, expectation, and illusion. When seekers looked into it, some saw their fears magnified, others saw their hidden potential, and some saw nothing at all. The mirror reflected whatever the seeker was unwilling to face. This mirror symbolizes the moments in your life when you were forced to confront yourself. When the relationships broke, when the job ended, when the betrayal occurred, when the silence became too loud. These were the times the mirror appeared, offering not punishment but clarity. Dark mode is born in the acceptance of what this mirror shows you. When you stop running from your truth, your wounds, your patterns, your shadows, you step into a deeper power that no external validation can provide. Another profound symbol is that of the night traveler. In ancient cosmology, the night traveler was a being who navigated the world using starlight and intuition rather than torches or maps. Unlike others who feared the dark, the traveler moved silently, confidently, knowing that every path has a rhythm that can be felt rather than seen. While others stumbled in daylight, blinded by distractions, the traveler thrived in the freedom of the night. The night traveler represents your ability to move through life without needing constant reassurance. It is the part of you that trusts your inner compass even when external circumstances are uncertain. It teaches you that dark mode is not chaos, it is orientation. It is the understanding that your spirit has been guiding you long before your mind learned to interpret the world. Finally, there is the allegory of the eclipse crown. This crown appears only during an eclipse, when the sun and moon align perfectly, symbolizing the moment when light and darkness merge into one force. It is said that whoever stands beneath the eclipse crown becomes unshakable. They do not eliminate their darkness, they integrate it. They do not silence their light, they direct it. They do not fear their contradictions, they wield them. This is the ultimate expression of dark mode. Not dominance, not destruction, alignment. The chosen one, crowned by the eclipse, is neither blinded by their light nor swallowed by their darkness. They are centered. They are sovereign. They become the bridge between what is seen and what is hidden. And with this integration comes a new identity, the one who walks unafraid. These symbolic narratives prepare the ground for what comes next, where we move from myth to application, from story to embodiment. The 9 ways may appear abstract now, but when grounded in these deeper meanings, they become pathways you can walk with intention and clarity. For all its symbolism, mysticism, and cosmic depth, your dark mode is not meant to be a purely metaphysical idea. It is meant to be lived. It is meant to guide how you move through the world, how you protect your energy, how you choose relationships, how you rebuild after damage, how you rise without noise. The shift is internal, but the ripple effect is unmistakably real. What begins as an inner awakening eventually transforms the structure of your entire life. To integrate dark mode in a practical sense, you must first understand that it changes your presence. Not the mask you show others, but the field of awareness that surrounds you. You begin to walk with a quieter confidence, an unspoken strength that doesn't require validation. People may not be able to name what changed, but they feel it. You become less accessible to those who drain you, less reactive to those who test you, less available to situations that diminish you. Dark mode is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about moving through the world with discernment rather than desperation. This shift alone alters your relationships, your choices, and your destiny. When your dark mode is activated, your boundaries become more intuitive than verbal. You stop warning people not to cross them. You simply enforce them through action. You leave the conversation, remove your energy, or close the door long before conflict erupts. This saves you from emotional entanglements that once consumed you. It also sends a silent but powerful message. Your peace is no longer negotiable. People who once relied on your softness to exploit your kindness will feel the shift first. Their confusion is not your concern. Your evolution is not their entitlement. Another practical implication lies in emotional regulation. Dark mode doesn't suppress emotions, it reorganizes them. Instead of reacting immediately, you observe. Instead of defending yourself, you evaluate whether the situation even deserves a response. Instead of absorbing the emotions of others, You separate their projections from your reality. This gives you sovereignty in situations that once overwhelmed you. You become skilled at responding from clarity rather than impulse. It is not coldness, it is mastery. The chosen one, who can sit with their own emotions without being ruled by them, becomes unshakable in a world that thrives on chaos. In daily life, this might look like recognizing manipulation before it tightens around you. You sense the subtle guilt trip, the passive-aggressive tone, the hidden agenda. You feel the shift in the room before anyone speaks. This awareness isn't paranoia, it's energetic literacy. It's the understanding that intentions speak louder than words, and that energy reveals truth long before behavior does. With this heightened perception, you navigate life like the night traveler from the earlier narrative, trusting the signals felt rather than the illusions presented. Dark mode also influences how you pursue your goals. You no longer chase recognition or approval. You move with purpose, even if no one sees you building. You understand that silence is a strategy, not a weakness. You stop broadcasting your plans to people who secretly hope you fail. Your movements become precise, your ambitions rooted in authenticity rather than comparison. You stop wasting time explaining why you deserve success and start investing that time into becoming someone who naturally attracts it. The world notices the results long after you've done the inner work, and by then, your foundation is too solid to be shaken. This shift extends into your interpersonal relationships. Dark mode reveals the true nature of the connections in your life. People who were aligned with your unhealed self begin to fall away. Conversations that once thrilled you feel hollow. Obligations that once dictated your time feel suffocating. You no longer tolerate inconsistency, disrespect, or emotional laziness. Your circle becomes smaller but infinitely stronger. You begin attracting people who match your depth, your integrity, and your frequency. Friendships become more intentional, love becomes more sacred, and solitude becomes more nourishing. Dark mode also transforms your understanding of solitude. What once felt like loneliness begins to feel like liberation. Your alone time becomes a sanctuary where you reconnect with your intuition, recharge your spirit, and refine your direction. Instead of fearing isolation, you use it to cultivate the midnight garden within you, those hidden strengths that grow in quiet soil. You realize that many breakthroughs require absence of noise, absence of opinion, absence of external influence. You stop fearing the dark because you recognize it as the birthplace of clarity. This practical integration naturally shifts your life path. You begin letting go of what drains you, even if it once defined you. You leave environments that no longer serve your expansion. You release dreams that belonged to your past self. You choose alignment over obligation. This creates a ripple effect that restructures your existence. Opportunities that once slipped through your fingers suddenly appear. Faces you once overlooked become important. Doors you didn't know existed open effortlessly. The universe responds differently to a chosen one who has integrated their shadow. Your frequency rises not through light alone, but through the harmony of both light and darkness within you. On a very real level, dark mode influences your career, your finances, your ability to manifest, and your resilience during uncertainty. You stop operating from fear-based survival and start operating from empowered creation. You stop asking what you're allowed to have and start claiming what aligns with your path. You no longer chase opportunities. You become the opportunity. The world begins to read your presence differently because you are no longer seeking. Your energy now invites. And perhaps the most potent real-world implication is this: dark mode gives you emotional independence. Not the cold withdrawal of someone shutting the world out, but the steady self-sufficiency of someone who knows how to return home to themselves. You stop deriving your worth from external sources. You stop relying on others to provide validation, direction, or rescue. You become the anchor in your own life. This allows you to love without losing yourself, give without draining yourself, and rise without limiting yourself. In practical terms, dark mode is not about becoming harder, it's about becoming clearer. It is the state of consciousness where you finally trust yourself enough to move through the world with deliberate intention rather than unconscious reaction. Once integrated, it becomes impossible to return to your old patterns, because the awakened version of you refuses to shrink back into who you were before. In every chosen one's journey, there comes a final crossing, a moment when the path behind you dissolves and the path ahead waits for your courage to step forward. By now, you've walked through the shadows, traced the architecture of your inner world, listened to the stories that speak in symbols rather than words, and felt the quiet strength that rises when a soul finally stops fearing its own depth. This concluding passage is not an ending, but a threshold, the place where everything you've learned converges into one undeniable truth. Your inner dark mode is not a phase, not a mood, not a mystery to decode. It is your birthright, and stepping into it fully is the beginning of your true life. If the earlier sections unfolded like doors, this final one is the gateway. A call not to understand your dark mode, but to embody it, to live it, to let it shape your voice, your boundaries, your choices, your destiny. The journey you've taken through these narratives was designed to stir something ancient inside you, something you may have suppressed, silenced, or doubted. That part of you is awake now, and once awakened, it refuses to return to sleep. You've come to understand that darkness is not the place where you lose yourself, but the place where you find yourself. The world taught you to fear the shadow because shadows can't be controlled. They break illusions, expose lies, and reveal the true motives of people and circumstances you once trusted. But what the world calls dark is simply unfiltered truth. And chosen ones are beings who thrive on truth, no matter how quiet, uncomfortable, or transformative it may be. This final chapter asks you to look at your life through a new lens, the lens of someone who has reclaimed both sides of their being. You are no longer the version of yourself that bends to expectations or dims your power for acceptance. You are no longer the seeker who questions their worth or overextends their spirit for validation. You are no longer the one who fears walking alone. You've stepped into the identity of someone self-possessed, self-aware, and self-aligned. And this alignment is what shifts your entire timeline. When a chosen one integrates their dark mode, a profound transformation occurs in the subtle spaces of their existence. Their silence becomes sacred rather than empty. Their solitude becomes empowering rather than lonely. Their boundaries become expressions of self-love rather than defenses built from fear. They start to move differently, not with arrogance, but with unmistakable inner authority. It's as if life begins yielding in their presence, making room for the version of them that was always meant to lead rather than follow. This transformation does not announce itself with dramatic fanfare. Instead, it reveals itself in small, steady shifts. The conversations you no longer entertain, the people you no longer chase, the energy you no longer waste, the dreams you reclaim with renewed clarity, the peace that becomes your default, not your exception. Dark mode is not loud. It does not seek applause. It is the quiet revolution that reorders your entire internal landscape. And yet, it is also a call to rise into a new way of living, not hiding your depth, but harnessing it, not suppressing your intuition, but trusting it, not fearing your sensitivity, but recognizing it as your greatest weapon. You become the Eclipse from the earlier narrative, the being in whom light and darkness merge with purpose. When this merging takes place, Confidence is no longer something you perform, it becomes something you are. Wisdom is no longer something you chase, it becomes something you emanate. Strength is no longer something you prove, it becomes something you carry effortlessly. This is the truth of the Chosen One. Your evolution creates ripples. When you step into your dark mode, you don't just change your inner world, you alter the frequency of the spaces you enter. People feel your presence before you speak. Opportunities align themselves around your clarity. Challenges that once derailed you now pass through you like wind through stone. You stop fighting for what is not yours and begin attracting what is. Life becomes more intentional, more aligned, more meaningful. But none of this happens by accident. It is a decision, a sacred commitment, a vow to stop dimming yourself for the comfort of others, a vow to walk away from anything that does not nourish your spirit, a vow to rise even when you rise alone. Dark mode is not a place you visit, it is a state of being you choose. It is the moment you say, I am done betraying myself simply to be tolerated. And with that decision comes the final step, allowing your dark mode to guide your transformation. Not occasionally, not when convenient, but consistently. Let it shape your voice when you speak the truth. Let it shape your silence when you protect your peace. Let it shape your boundaries when someone tests them. Let it shape your presence when you walk into rooms where you once shrank. Let it shape your destiny as you move toward what was always meant for you. The world may not understand this version of you. Some may misinterpret your calm for coldness, your clarity for arrogance, your boundaries for hostility, but their misunderstanding is not your responsibility. Your only task now is to remain aligned with your inner knowing. To stay rooted in your purpose, to walk forward with both the light that reveals your path and the darkness that protects it. Remember this, the Chosen One who has embraced their dark mode does not need permission to exist powerfully. They do not need applause to feel worthy. They do not need company to feel whole. They become the embodiment of quiet, unstoppable transformation. As you step across this final threshold, carry the truth with you. Your darkness is not your enemy. Your light is not your limitation. Your power lies in the union of both. Rise now, not into who you were, not into who others want you to be, but into who you were always destined to become. Your dark mode is waiting. Your transformation is calling. And this time, you answer.